Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is finally breaking out to the upside from this bullish ascending triangle pattern, liquidating over $1 billion worth of short positions. But while this is happening, a new warning signal is flashing in the short term that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment. Definitely stick around. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin charts, because right now the price of Bitcoin is once again attempting a breakout above this important area of resistance, sitting in between around 36,000 to 38,000. But at least for now, as I record in this video, the price of Bitcoin has not yet confirmed a weekly candle close above 38k. So at least for now, this potential breakout on the weekly time frame is not yet confirmed. But obviously, we are still technically within this much larger bullish trend, forming higher lows and higher highs here on the weekly time frame. But anyway, taking a look at the daily Bitcoin chart, and of course right now we are potentially forming a new bearish divergence here on the daily time frame, because obviously at least for now the price of Bitcoin is still forming a new higher highs in the price and potentially about to confirm a new higher high in the daily candle closes, while the RSI on the daily Bitcoin chart is of course still sitting in lower highs, which is technically once again forming a bearish divergence. But at least for now, this potential new bearish divergence has not yet been confirmed, because in order to actually confirm this bearish divergence, we first of all need to confirm these higher highs in place in the price action by seeing signals like, for example, daily candle closes confirming the higher highs in place, and then after that, we need to confirm the lower highs in place in the RSI. Because obviously, if we do not see that and the price just continues further to the upside, of course, that can bring the RSI further to the upside into higher highs. And if we have higher highs in the RSI and higher highs in the price, there's no bearish divergence. And so ultimately, in order to confirm this bearish divergence, once again, after cementing this higher high in place in the price, we would then need to see a couple of daily candle closes confirming in the red to actually cement this lower high in place here in the RSI. And if we end up seeing those confirmation signals actually confirming the new bearish divergence, then once again, as always, a bearish divergence usually plays out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a pullback in the price of Bitcoin. And on the daily time frame, they usually last for a couple of weeks on average. But once again, at least for now, this new bearish divergence has not yet been confirmed. So overall, in terms of the trend, of course, we are still looking more bullish than bearish. We have not yet actually broken the higher high, higher low price structure. And now, obviously, as you can see here, the last couple of bearish divergences here on the daily Bitcoin chart did result in a bit more of a short-term bearish trend, basically a larger pullback in the price of Bitcoin over the next couple of months. But we need to remember that during those exact same time periods where the Bitcoin price was more bearish for around 1 to 2 months, of course, during those time periods, we saw the DXY or US dollar index pump back to the upside. And as I've been saying here on the channel, once again, if the DXY is bullish, that is usually bearish for the price of Bitcoin. But on the flip side, if the DXY is bearish, that is usually bullish for the price of Bitcoin, as we've seen over the last couple of months. And so with the DXY still trending to the downside, of course, this is still technically a bullish signal for Bitcoin, meaning it would be difficult to see any significant pullback in the price of Bitcoin while the DXY is also still pulling back. And so in order to expect any larger pullback in the price of Bitcoin, like a 15 or 20% pullback, something like that, we would need to see a strong reversal, a bullish reversal in the DXY in order for that to become more of a possibility here in the price of Bitcoin. So at least for now, once again, we are still looking more bullish than bearish here for the price of Bitcoin. And if you're zooming into the 8-hour time frame, of course, you could say something very similar. We are still looking bullish, obviously forming higher lows and higher highs in this ascending parallel channel. And now, obviously, if we end up seeing a break below this line of support, which is sitting at around 36,500 approximately, then in that case, that would be a bearish signal pointing towards a bit more of a short-term bearish trend potentially. But obviously, as of right now, that has not yet happened. We are still holding above this line of support, forming higher lows and higher highs, which is technically the price trending in the bullish direction. So once again, in terms of the trend and momentum, we are still looking bullish, at least as of right now. And if you're zooming into the 6-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously just recently, over the last 1 day or so, we have now seen a breakout to the upside above this previous area of resistance, which was sitting in between around 37.6k to around 38k. And obviously, a couple of days ago, we did see an initial breakout above 38k, and then over the last few days, we have been retesting this previous this area of resistance to flip it into new support. And obviously now we have seen a bounce from that area, meaning this area is now acting as new support. And so technically speaking, with a breakout to the upside for this ascending triangle pattern and a successful retest further confirming the breakout, technically that sets up a technical price target to the upside sitting at around $41,000. And that price target to the upside and this bullish ascending triangle pattern and this breakout only invalidate if we see a confirmed break back below this area right here, back below this previous area of resistance, which once again, the lower side is sitting at around 37.6K. And so basically, if we end up seeing candle closes back below 37.6K, that would invalidate the breakout and basically mean we could likely fall back down to this line of support, which is sitting at roughly around 36,500, closer towards 36.6K. And now, obviously, as I've discussed recently on the channel with these breakout movements, I have also entered a long position around the point of the breakout. And if you're wondering where you can take these breakout trades, whether we're breaking out to the upside or to the downside, either way, you can profit from these moves if you have an account ready to go over on an exchange like Bybit or Bitflex. And as always, I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment, which is where I've just taken this trade. And in fact, if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus with your first deposit, but only if you use that link down below this video. But unfortunately, due to regulations, there's some countries around the world where you may not be able to access Bybit in. And so if that's the case, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC with Bitflex. And once again, I'll make sure to leave a link to Bitflex in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below to make a Bitflex account and to make a $100 deposit onto that account and make one trade over on Bitflex, you can get 10 USDT completely for free. And so that's essentially a 10% return on a $100 deposit. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check out those links down below this video to get those extra bonuses. But as I've been updating on my Twitter, I have actually taken some profit off the table with this small long position that I've just opened recently. And I have also moved my stop loss for this position up to my entry price, which is roughly around 38K. And so essentially right now for me in my long position trade right here, this breakout trade, personally, this is a risk-free trade because essentially if we see the price of Bitcoin dump back to the downside right now, once again, that would trigger my stop loss at my entry price and get me out of the trade automatically without taking a loss. And once again, I have taken a small amount of profits off the table already, but I also have some part of the trade, of course, still remaining open in case we end up completing this breakout, hitting the price target all the way up here at around 41K. And now you might be wondering, why have I even closed part of the trade at this price right here, well before the technical price target to the upsides? And the reason behind that, the reason why I've taken some profits off the table for this specific breakout trade right here is due to the fact that the price of Bitcoin is also now running into this line of resistance. And simply based on these previous highs all lining up for multiple touch points of resistance, we have this line of resistance sitting at approximately 38.7K. And basically, while the price of Bitcoin is rejecting from that resistance and still underneath that line of resistance, of course, we are still potentially forming this rising wedge pattern here on the 4-hour Bitcoin chart. And statistically speaking, a rising wedge is a bearish pattern because roughly around 2/3 of the time, a rising wedge breaks to the downside and only around 1/3 of the time, a rising wedge breaks to the upside. So it's not impossible to see a bullish breakout from this pattern, but that is simply the less likely scenario. Technically speaking, it is more likely to break to the downside from a rising wedge. And so unless we actually confirm a breakout back above around 38.7K, technically speaking, we may not actually hit this price target at 41K because obviously, once again, we still have that resistance at around 38.7K approximately, which means the price can reject from that level as we're seeing right now as of recording this video just in the short term. And right now, this ascending line of support for the rising wedge is sitting at approximately 37,500. And so basically, if we end up seeing a stronger rejection from that line of resistance and actually see a break below around 37.5K, that would confirm this bearish pattern. And at the same time, of course, if we break to the downside like that, that would invalidate the breakout to the upside for this ascending triangle pattern. So that is the short-term bearish scenario that we need to be aware of, because obviously, just because we're seeing a potential breakout to the upside here on the 6-hour chart, we cannot ignore this potential bearish pattern here on the 4-hour chart. And so, as I said earlier, due to those reasons, I have already closed part of that long position in profits, already secured some profits. And once once again, I've moved my stop loss up towards my entry price. So in the worst case scenario, I still come away with profits. And of course, if this bearish scenario does actually play out and we see a break to the downside, invalidating that breakout on the 6-hour chart, and we actually activate this rising wedge pattern, then obviously at that point, if we actually see a confirmed break below that support, I would be looking for a short position. Because once again, no matter what direction the price goes, whether we are bullish or bearish, we can make money no matter what direction the price goes. And the technical price target for this rising wedge is sitting at approximately 34,500. But once again, that only comes into play if we first see a confirmed break below this line of support. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, right now the price of Bitcoin has just recently liquidated over $1 billion worth of short positions. And if you watched my last 1 to 2 videos here on the channel when the price was below 38,000, of course I was talking about how the price of Bitcoin is likely going to soon return up towards around 38.5 to 38.7k to liquidate those positions. And obviously over the last 1 day, that is exactly what has happened. We've seen the price exactly go up towards around 38.7k approximately to liquidate all of those positions, and now we are just turning around just in the short term here. And so right now we don't really have a lot of liquidation levels, a lot of liquidity either side of the price of Bitcoin. Of course, we do have some liquidation levels again building up to the upside at around 39,000. So it is worth keeping an eye on that area right there at around 39k. But right now that's not as much liquidations as compared to back here in around 38.5k to 38.7k, which have already been liquidated. And so of course there is a chance that that move to the upside over the last 1 day was simply just a move to liquidate all of those positions. And right now we could potentially be rejecting once again from that resistance. But either way, of course, in terms of the trend, we have not yet broken the bullish price structure, because as of right now, once again, we are still forming higher lows and higher highs. And something similar can be said on the weekly ETH to US dollar chart, because right now the price of ETH is of course still forming significant higher lows and potentially about to form a new higher high if we break out above this strong area of resistance. And once again, this area of resistance is still sitting in between around $2,000 to $2,150. So $2,150 is still the level to break. And if you're zooming into the daily time frame, of course, just over the last 1 day, just recently, we have seen another small rejection from this area of resistance sitting close to around 2120 to around 2150. And as for short-term support, we do have this line of support, this Fibonacci level of support at around $1,990 to $2,000. We also have another Fibonacci level of support at around 1.9k, and we have another level of support at around 1830. And so of course at any of those levels, it's possible to see a bounce here in the price of ETH, just like how we can see rejections from resistance. And as for the daily Ethereum price oscillators, right now the momentum is starting to turn back towards the bullish direction, but at least as of right now, we do not really have a lot of momentum here on the daily time frame, which means we have not necessarily broken the bullish trend, but at least in the shorter term here on the daily time frame, we're basically lacking that extreme bullish momentum that we saw quite a few weeks ago, around a month ago. And so due to that reason, once again, we've seen a lot of choppy sideways price action over the last few weeks, just in the short term on the daily time frame, which once again is what I've been talking about here on the channel. But believe it or not, you can make a lot of money very easily in choppy sideways price action just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, taking a quick look at the 8-hour ETH to US dollar chart, and right now the price is still forming this ascending triangle pattern, which is technically a bullish pattern, because unlike a rising wedge, an ascending triangle pattern is slightly more likely to break out to the upside than to the downside. But once again, it's not impossible to see a break to the downside from this pattern. That is simply the less likely scenario. But either way, in order to confirm the pattern and the price targets in play, we first need to see a break of either support or resistance, with this support line sitting at around 2020 and this line of resistance once again still sitting at around 2120. And so obviously if we confirm a breakout above resistance, that could be an opportunity for a long position, or if we confirm a break below support, that could be an opportunity for a short position so that we can profit no matter what direction the price goes. But as always, that is not personal financial advice, because I don't know your personal financial situation. That is just usually what I do in these breakout situations, whether we're breaking support or resistance. But at least for now, while the price is sitting in between support and resistance, once again, we're looking relatively neutral, basically basically lacking momentum and chopping around sideways. But once again, you can make a lot of money very easily in choppy sideways price action just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then check out the video in the bottom left of your screen right now, because that video right there shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action, and the video in the top left shows you how you can profit if the price is bullish or bearish using AI. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.